Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sangham namasami. During these days of very wet weather, we have one recourse that is always available to us, and that is to seclude ourselves with our mind, unweathered. Nothing there, no rain, and not getting wet, not feeling miserable, not feeling gloomy because of external conditions. This is always an option for us. But if we believe that our happiness depends on the weather being different, then we are so vulnerable and so out of control. What kind of happiness is that? When we are dependent on something beyond our ability to change. But what we can change and nurture and gradually mature, gradually help to develop, evolve into a strength that is indestructible, that is our internal condition. The interior castle, the core of our heart. That we can look at, examine, and temper, just the way a goldsmith would temper gold. There's a wonderful metaphor in the suttas where the Buddha describes how gold is worked with, how it is created. First, it has to be found in its raw state, mining for gold, in rivers and hidden places. As many of us know, historically, there was a gold rush on this continent, and people traveled into unknown lands with all their possessions in a wagon, without a map, just heading west to get gold, looking for gold. And they endured incredible hardships with their animals and their covered wagons across dusty plains and mountain trails without proper roads. They didn't take freeways or highways and drive in a car that they could fill up at gas stations. They had to feed their animals and feed themselves and make fires and tents or shelters at night. And looking for gold in very difficult terrain, uninhabited lands, in all kinds of weather, speaking of weather. And some of them never found gold. They just wasted a lot of their resources and energy looking for the undiscoverable. And a few lucky ones found gold and got rich. But then that didn't save them from old age, sickness and death, the suffering of the body and the mind. We can make that journey without ever leaving our homes. We can make that journey to find gold. Where will we find it? Only within us. It's a different kind of gold. But as the Buddha describes it, first it has to be heated up. You melt the gold, you make the gold malleable and workable through applying heat over and over again and purifying it and removing all the impurities from the gold so that it can really be tempered and made workable. And even after it's been heated at extreme temperatures, then it has to be washed and purified again and again to remove some of the finer impurities. And lastly, it has to be dusted and dusted again and again, because there's this finer impurity of gold dust which must be removed until it can be formed and crafted into ornaments and different objects of value. So what does that tell us about the inner work that we have to do? The Buddha is suggesting to us that the purification of the mind is a similar process. It's a gradual training of going from the coarse material that we find ourselves working with. How coarse is the mind? And when we notice that, if we have enough self-awareness and enough wisdom, and we try to turn the mind to what will better it, what will remove that dross from within, what will direct us to something greater, more beautiful, more inspiring, more peaceful for ourselves. So we don't engage anymore in crude activities. Maybe when we're young and we feel invincible and reckless, we do crazy things. Then later we look back and think, that didn't get me anywhere, let me try something better. So we avoid those kinds of extreme behaviors. And this is very wise. Also, following virtue, taking up precepts, and removing actions that cause harm to others and ourselves. And speech that causes harm to others or ourselves. This is how we remove the extreme dross elements of our own minds, those qualities that need to be abandoned and transformed into something that befits a person on a spiritual journey. The gold seekers were not on a spiritual journey, but maybe their journey became very spiritual because they had to suffer a lot. So they may not have found the material gold, but their hearts may have turned to a golden state because they overcame so much difficulty. How many people I've met who've experienced cancer, heart attack, loss of a spouse or a child, and being made irrelevant in their careers, or losing their own health or functionality through old age, through sickness, and how grateful they are for what they've learned by enduring that difficult time and coming to some discovery of a peace within them which is more precious than they ever imagined possible. The suffering becomes the teacher, the direction through which we realize what is beyond ordinary happiness, golden artifacts, wealth, success, beauty, the vanity of youth, the vanity of good health, even the vanity of life. But back to the purification process. So then we get to another level where we keep virtue. We're kind, we're generous. We don't really have a lot of wisdom, but we want to be wise. So we start meditating. And through our meditation practice, we develop a view. And this view is purified more and more, that we seclude ourselves from the world. What are we doing here? We're secluded from the world. So we have this kind of removal of distraction. The removal of distraction and seclusion from the outside activities and stimulations is a kind of refined atmosphere. This is a very special condition here. No one is rushing in and out. The cell phones are off. The world is not available. All we can do is sit with the mind and observe it. It doesn't matter that it's pouring outside. It's not pouring in the mind. If we can still the mental formations, we practice stilling the weather in the mind, drying up our tears, drying up the complaining, the anxiousness, the restlessness, the doubting mind, the wanting mind, the regretful mind, the remorseful mind. We dry it all up. And we sit with that emptiness which becomes a fullness of being, bright and shiny as gold, precious, blissful, peaceful, beyond words. And then we want more of that. We have the wanting for that. But this is a blameless wanting. It's wholesome. It's pure. So we continue to purify at that level, having removed the distractions of the world, secluded ourselves physically, we gain seclusion of mind. And when the mind reaches a deeper and deeper state of meditation, we begin to remove the hindrances. And then we come to an even greater depth of purity. The mind becomes more and more malleable, just like the purified gold. Through the energy of our concentration, of our inner focusing, we heat up the one-pointedness, that single one-pointed mindful observation and inner focused knowing of our own experience, seeing the arising and ceasing, the impermanence. The impermanence is the condition of all phenomena, and we learn that so intimately that it becomes undeniable. But it's not something that we feel unhappy to know. We feel a joy in knowing it because it's the truth about everything in our life. It's impossible for us to experience that internally without understanding the universal nature of that. And then that takes us to the truth of suffering, the truth of the unsatisfactoriness of all things. And then gradually we begin to see that if all mental phenomena and physical phenomena that we experience are impermanent and unsatisfactory, what are they really? They're empty. There's no self that we can create out of that. At first, this might be shocking, but in fact, it's a liberating insight. The mind that can be so adaptable and flexible to see to that depth experiences a greater freedom, a greater purity, the kind of gold that one can adorn the mind with. That kind of knowledge is the most beautiful treasure of all. This is the right view of the path of liberation. And this right view is equated with the Four Noble Truths. What are these truths? The truth of suffering. Is there anyone here who has never suffered? Not a one. We all experience it, because that is the nature of these suffering bodies. We're born into a suffering realm, and suffering is our teacher. It's just what it is. And so is the life and death of the body. It's not bad. It's just what it is. It's born, it subsists for a while, and then it disappears. And we think it's terrible when it disappears. But that's just its nature. So why do we weep and lament? Because of our identification with these forms. Because of our attachment to these forms. So by understanding the suffering nature of these forms of all phenomena that exist in this world, whether it's the rain coming out of the sky or out of our eyes, the elements in the body arising and disappearing, earth element, fire element, water element, air element, space element, all arising and disappearing over and over again. How many times have we witnessed beings disappearing? Everyone in this room, here now and tomorrow, unknown. In 1 year, unknown. 5 years, 10 years, in 100 years, definitely. We'll be gone. There's nothing wrong in that. That's just nature. So when we look at the origin of our suffering, it's not the fact that we die, but it's because we crave to exist. So we see suffering, we know that there's suffering, and then we abandon the origin of it. We abandon that craving. Now this is the second noble truth. And right view helps us to understand what it is that we need to give up and let go of. Then we realize the possibility of that through the cessation of suffering, which comes with the development of the path. These are the Four Noble Truths. This is the way to bring about the realization of the treasure within us. Now notice how active we have to be. We have to remove distraction. We have to seclude ourselves from the world. We have to understand the origin of our suffering. See that, see the impermanence, see how that has inherent in it the suffering nature. Because the life is just flowing out of our hands. We can't hold on to it. We can't hold on to good weather. It's impossible. We can't chase the rain away. But we can make our minds an abiding place of indestructible brightness and joy through our own ability to know the truth of what we are and how this suffering arises and ceases within us, and how we can develop enough dispassion, cessation, and letting go. It's the gradual training through our seclusion. It doesn't happen through a few weeks or months of meditation practice. It happens through a diligent application of attention in the right way to our own experience by diving deeply into the mind, investigating, examining, what is it within us, not out there, not to be distracted by what the world is giving us, but to listen to the internal messages, not on the phone. You see how distracted we are? We hang on to these phones. It's a wonderful metaphor. Just like if you were that settler back in the 1800s, traveling along looking for gold and thinking that those nuggets in the river were going to make you happy. Now we think that these nuggets of telephones and objects outside of ourselves are going to do something for us that they cannot do inherently. They just can't. So we have to examine what we're doing and why we're doing it. We have to be like physicians with stethoscopes and listen. How are we spending our energy, our time? What are we focusing on? Where are we putting our strength? What are we relying on? We're relying on things that are not reliable, that distract our minds and rob us of the true treasure within. the single point on which the mind will be liberated, is so refined that we have to do more than the ordinary refining of gold. We have to allow our minds to come to such a place of stillness and stopping through seclusion of the mind, developing a peace and equanimity from within. There is an app called Calm. I just learned about it. And we think that this app is going to make us calm. But the only app we need is not on the phone. It's free, it's invisible, and it's in here. It's in the heart. We're born with it. We develop it. It's a knowledge that is at our fingertips. It's coming to a place of absolute emptiness, having nothing at all. No apps. The only application we need is pure presence. Pure presence, pure present awareness. Pure present awareness, inwardly focused. Patient present awareness, inwardly examining, awakening, trusting. Intrepid, based on trust of the Buddha's instructions. And we can do it, but we somehow so deeply believe that we don't have time. Friends, we're all mentally ill. We are in dire need of medicine. And the only medicine that will cure our mental illness, exhaustion, despair and frustration, that we so cleverly disguise, mask and cloak and dress up to not see, is this meditative practice. Secluding the mind, protecting the mind, investigating the mind, developing an internal ease and calm, an internal treasure, and the wisdom that we so yearn for. It's the biggest nugget of all, bright and shiny, and so totally within our reach. We need extraordinary patience, and we need to stop more and more. It's through cessation which induces greater and greater levels of stopping habits, and containing our energy enough that we can refine our directed, one-pointed attention to that pure presence, ever awakened, trusting, intrepid, internalized knowing of the truth of things just as they are within our own being, coming to the center of that and developing the highest form of joy and peace within consciousness itself. This is when the fire goes out. The fire of greed, the fire of hatred, and the fire of delusion. And instead of that, we develop illumination. The Buddha was a being who experienced this illumination, and he taught about it in 84,000 verses. If you read some of the Buddha's teachings and read even a verse, you'll be so inspired. Every day read a verse, you'll be so inspired. When you run into some crucial moment, some emergency in your life, which could happen at any time, maybe that verse will pop into your consciousness and you will have a tool. You'll have a bit of medicine to give a sense of strength and perseverance, endurance, resilience, that nothing of the world would be able to offer. That will help us to persevere and sustain ourselves through all of life's trials and hardships, of which there will be a few. But there is a way to be free of suffering, and this practice is certainly one that will support us towards that freedom. So I offer you that for your contemplation tonight.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.